So, good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner David Yamamoto. Today is Tuesday, October 4th. Wow, it's October already, 2022, and we will be calling this meeting to order at 8 a.m. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak. Again, pressing *6. It's very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you so much. So, welcome to our weekly community update. I am Commissioner David Yamamoto. Commissioner's roll call. Commissioner Bell can't be with us this morning, but I think we have Commissioner Aaron Scar. Commissioner.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning. Okay, let's jump right into it as we always do. Let's start with Adventist Health. Eric Swanson. Eric.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
So we have an inpatient census this morning of 11 patients. We have less than 3 patients who are admitted to our hospital that have a positive COVID test today. Surgery has a whopping 1 case today, and it is elective or non-urgent. Yesterday, our paramedics and EMTs transported 7 911 patients, 1 transfer, no transports home. Number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 across Oregon is 268, which is 9 more than yesterday. 35 COVID-19 patients in intensive care unit beds, 3 more than yesterday. 8 are on ventilators. There were 4,800 emergency department visits across Oregon yesterday. 2.5% of them were for COVID-like illness. We still struggle with bed capacity in Oregon. There are 27 available adult ICU beds out of 334 total, which is 8% availability for Region 1, and 98 available adult non-ICU beds out of 1,907, or 5% availability. So that's all I've got for you this morning, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you, Eric. As always, appreciate you being here. Any questions for Eric Swanson? So, Eric,
good morning, Eric.
I just want to say that I don't think I see an uptick in COVID cases, which at this point I think is a good thing.
Yep, I think that that is a good thing. That is a very good thing. And just to be transparent, the OHA is only reporting weekly. So this is the data that I've shared with you today is from the 28th. So we'll see some more data this week to see where we're at.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Did I hear someone had a question maybe for Eric?
This is Commissioner Scar.
I defer to the commission, please.
Commissioner Scar,
Thank you, Representative. I just wondered, Eric, if you could touch base on, I assume that you have the bivalent vaccines and that you are administering those through Adventist Health, through the plaza and other locations. Can you talk about whether that's an appointment required or if you're doing any walk-ins or how folks might access that through the Adventist Health?
Sure. We are providing that at our occupational medicine clinic, which is Suite 100, 983rd Street, Suite 100, just west of the hospital, the old TMA complex for us old-timers. And it is a walk-in clinic. You can walk in Monday through Friday during business hours and get that vaccine if you choose.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And let's go to Representative Gomberg with a question.
Thank you, commissioners, and good morning, Eric. Eric, there is a statewide story that is evolving that suggests that staffing shortages are impacting healthcare and healthcare providers. Shortage of physicians, nurses, and support staff, and also that shortages within our assisted living facilities are making it more difficult for hospitals to transfer people out into rehab and are keeping them in hospitals longer for that reason. I'll say again, this is a statewide story, and the legislature is providing some funding to help supplement salaries and draw more people into those needed jobs. Can you give us a local spin on that statewide issue? How are we doing with staffing, with moving people into rehab, and providing the care that's needed?
Sure, happy to talk about all those issues. So let's start with, as we all remember, we lost the Kilchis House Nehalem Bay House and the Griffin House, which were three, I'm just going to call them assisted living facilities. They were locations that we would frequently discharge patients to. So that has made our job, not mine personally, but those people who are discharge planners, who have the responsibility to make sure that people have safe transitions of care, that's made their job much more difficult. And there's only a handful of skilled nursing beds available in, let's say, just in Region 1. So it makes it really difficult when a patient requires some skilled nursing care to get them in, again, a safe environment where they can heal before they go home, for example. We have the advantage, being a critical access hospital, that we can put a patient in what we call a swing bed status, which is a transitional care bed status, and we can keep them here for some of those skilled nursing, where we may send them to a skilled nursing facility, we can sometimes keep them here in our building. Depends on what the patient's needs are, but we have that ability, which is an advantage for us. The complexity comes when it comes to staffing. So we have staffing issues just like every other hospital does when it comes to nursing staff. Primarily, let's just talk about nursing staff. It is very difficult for us to recruit nurses to Tillamook, Oregon. I don't know why. I love Tillamook. I think most of us on the phone love this place. But I'll just give you an example. Our hospital in Portland, in southeast Portland, it takes about 30 days to recruit an RN. Our hospital in Hawaii, which is on an island, it takes about 40 days. To recruit an RN to Tillamook, Oregon, it takes about 90 days. And so that makes our job much more difficult. This morning, when I made my phone call to the nursing supervisor, she reminded me that our ICU is open once again. And we've had staffing issues all summer with keeping the ICU open because we don't have enough nurses available, even paying a ton of money every month to make sure we have contract nurses. We still have difficulty with that. Our hospital in Portland, we had a meeting about a month ago with our partners at OHSU, our hospital, the Adventist Health Portland, and OHSU Tuolity. And both Portland and Tuolity are struggling with getting patients out of their hospitals into skilled nursing beds and other places. Our Portland hospital had one poor patient that had been in the hospital 120 days, and they could not find a bed for this patient to go to. So we're actually working on a strategy that if we have the right mix of nursing staff, that we may be able to help relieve some of that burden from those two hospitals in Portland. But we just started that discussion within the last week to see if it's actually viable for us to help. Okay, that was a long-winded answer. Did I cover what you wanted to know?
You did, and I appreciate that context. At the legislature, we're being asked to provide more money to supplement salaries. That went through the emergency board a week and a half ago, and I am no longer serving on the emergency board, but I'm watching things very closely. Do you think more money would help us reduce the time it takes to recruit nurses, or is there a broader issue than simply compensation?
Well, I think there's a broader, from my perspective, there's a broader issue than compensation. I think compensation is a piece of it. Let's take Tillamook County. Housing is an issue. If I find a nurse that says, hey, I want to move to Tillamook, Oregon, and I want to work and live here, can I find a house that I can afford, whether it be a rental or a house to buy? That's just the main fact that make it difficult. I think, again, I'm going to give a big shout out to our community for the support of Tillamook Bay Community College and TBCC's efforts to bring a nursing program to Tillamook, Oregon, where we can grow our own nurses in our community. I think that is going to be amazing. But again, that takes, the program starts in 2023. That means we're not going to have an RN out of the program till end of 24, early 25. So that's a couple years away. But I think those are some of the strategies that we have to figure out. How do we make sure that we are able to train our own nurses here? I know there's going to be a legislative concept to allow community colleges to offer baccalaureate degrees in nursing. And I think that's a good thing as well. So it's more than just, and we're not just talking about nursing. Let's get into the we're short paramedics as well. There's a Oregon and national shortage of EMS providers. I spoke with my friend who runs the program at Chemeketa Community College last week, and he said there's just nobody wants to become a paramedic anymore. So they're seeing decreased enrollment there. So it's across the board, and I think that if you're interested, we can schedule a time for a little bit longer conversation about this if you want.
Well, thank you again, Eric. And Commissioners, I apologize for taking so much time, but this is a broad question that has significant impact.
No apologies necessary. That was a great conversation, great information came out of the question and answers. I appreciate that so much. Any other questions for Eric Swanson? Eric, as always, thank you for being here.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
So let's move to the Coastal Caucus. I know we have Representative Gomberg and Representative Weber. I do not know if we have either of our senators. I don't see them online. So let's just turn this right over to the Coastal Caucus.
Good morning. I think I'm off mute.
Yes, we hear you perfectly.
Boy, isn't it a nice day out there? I just love these misty, moisty mornings.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. I had a really busy week last week. I was privileged to be able to tour the Gold Family Farms that is right in the Forest Grove area, and they are a major producer of nursery stock, and the plants there were absolutely amazing to see the acres of starts that they have and to see how they did it. Remember that nursery stock and greenhouse stock is one of the top 5 commodities in the state of Oregon. And that's followed by number 2, calves and cattle, and number 3, hay, and number 4, milk, and number 5, grass seed. So it was a really important visit to be able to see how these farms are being run and the innovations that they are using for the future. I also got to visit a restored home of a lumber baron in Clatskanie. And a group of people in Clatskanie are working to restore several historic buildings, and what a wonderful job they are doing. And then, to be really diverse, I got to meet with Oregon Quarter Horse Association and Cami Von Segren from our fair to talk about horse racing and our fair. And that was a good discussion also. On Wednesday, there was a wonderful gathering at the flagpole at Tillamook High School. Justin McMahon, who is the pastor of Living Waters Fellowship, has organized every last Wednesday of the month at 7:45 at the flagpole. People will meet to pray for our education, our schools, our children, our teachers, and it was very well attended, and it was very moving, and it was really interesting to see the diverse group of people that were there to pray for our schools. And I really want to reach out and commend the faith communities in Tillamook for all that they do for those in need. You know, the meals at the Nazarene Church and the Christian Church, and what the Adventist Church does, and the Christian Center, how they are reaching out. And then there's Tech, which is the 4 churches that work together, Sacred Heart, St. Peter's, St. Albans, and St. John's, to provide services for people who are in need. And they are a wonderful resource for people, and they have in their hearts the spirit of helping, and we can really be proud of that in our community. And then on Friday, I got to go to the Oregon Ports Association conference down in the Newport area as a representative of the Coastal Caucus, and talk about, you know, future legislative possibilities that could implement change and progress for our ports, and talk about some of the challenges that they are also coming in contact with. So that was a really good meeting also. Today, the Pacific City Chamber of Commerce is having their candidate forum at noon at the Kiwanda Center. And so if you are interested in hearing from candidates that are running in our area, you might want to take a trip down to Pacific City and participate. And I also want to remind people that they have a very special gift in this country, and that is the right to vote. And the 18th of October is the deadline for being able to register to vote in the next election. And if you have not done that and you have not changed any status, please do that. It is the one voice we have where we can be able to speak from our heart for what we want. It may not be the majority, but we do have a voice. And so I think that's all I have to say today. Thanks for the opportunity.
As always, thank you for being with us, Representative Weber. Representative Gomberg.
Well, good morning, Commissioners, and good morning, Tillamook County. Yes, as the good Representative Weber has suggested, the election is coming at us like a freight train. I will not be participating in the candidate forum in Pacific City today because I will not be on the ballot in Tillamook County this year. With the changes in district lines, as you all well know, Tillamook County has been consolidated into one House district, and my district is moving further south. But I did want to talk a little bit about the upcoming election for those of you that are particularly interested. I wanted to share some resources with you that go beyond the radio ads and the television ads and the mailers that are overwhelming us and will continue to do so in the coming weeks. First of all, the voters pamphlet, which is produced by the Secretary of State's office and has statements from each of the candidates, will be mailed about the same time that the ballots will, in about 2 weeks. But for those of you interested in an advanced peek at the voters pamphlet, there is an online edition available from the Secretary of State, which is produced primarily to deal with overseas voters and military voters that may be further away, so they can get this information sooner because they need to return their ballots sooner to get them to us in the mail. You can go to the Secretary of State's webpage and you can read the voters pamphlet now. And trust me when I say it is fascinating reading to see the statements that are being presented by the candidates, and again, being presented in their own words and not in the words of other people speaking about them. The second thing I would say, and I made reference a moment ago to the radio ads and the mailers and the television and everything else, I think voters should want to know who's paying for all of that. Where is the money coming from and how is it being spent? And all of that information is also available with the Secretary of State's office. We are now in what we call the 7-day reporting period, which essentially means that if we get money or we spend money, we need to report immediately, put that online so that people can see where the money's coming from and how it is being spent to influence people's opinions and their decisions as the election becomes closer. So I share those two resources with you. The final thing I wanted to say about our election is this, and that is that most of the attention this year will be at the top of the ballot. In this case, for United States Senator, for Governor, for congressional districts that are going to be very hard fought this campaign season, and of course for the legislature, the State House and the State Senate. But I want to urge people to also well educate themselves about other races on the ballot. County Commission, City Council. There's no school district elections on the ballot this time, but whether it's judgeships or water districts or fire districts, those people don't have the money to communicate as frequently and in as much depth as people running for governor or people running for Congress, but I would submit to you that those local races have as much and perhaps more effect on your daily lives, whether it's the quality of education your kids get, or whether the pothole in front of your house is filled, or whether you got clean or dirty water coming out of your tap. Please give some attention to the good people who are offering themselves to serve in those local positions for city council, for county commission, for fire district, school boards, as I said. Those races just as important at the bottom of the ballot as they are at the top of the ballot. I said that was the final thing I wanted to say about elections, but actually I'm going to say one thing more. The elections are just going to get more intense as we get closer to election day. And there's the potential you'll have people knocking on your doors. They're going to be sending you stuff in the mail. They're going to be calling you up on the phone. My advice to you is when you get your ballot, do your research, fill it out, and send it back in sooner. Because when your ballot is received, the county clerk will note that. I mean, they don't open your ballot. They don't check to see who has voted in what way, but they do check to see who has voted. And the campaigns will then acquire that information to determine who they're going to be communicating with. And they're not going to spend time and money contacting somebody who's already voted. They're going to focus on the people who haven't voted yet. So if you want the phone to stop ringing, if you want your mailbox to be a little less cluttered, if you don't want people knocking on the doors, then vote early. And in theory and in practice, you'll have fewer people reaching out to you because they will know you've already voted, and they'll focus on the people who haven't. So those are just a couple of quick observations about the ongoing election. There's a lot of good information out there, and I encourage people to reach out, learn more about the candidates, learn more about the money, and learn more about those local races that are so very, very important. So thank you so much, Commissioners, for the time.
Representative Gomberg, as always, thank you so much for being here. Any questions for any member of our Coastal Caucus? David, one thing you did mention was voting for people that are running for school boards and different boards. And this is something that I always say in Tillamook County, is that Tillamook County cannot survive without its volunteers. And almost every one of these positions you were talking about, as well as many others, working on our advisory committees and things of that nature, it's a labor of love. People don't get paid for these positions. So again, I want to reach out and thank everyone for doing what you do for Tillamook County and the state of Oregon. It's really important. So let's, with that, hearing no other questions, let's go to our Tillamook County Community Health Center, Marlene Putman and or Ed Colson.
Good morning. Ed and Marlene both had other commitments. So as
Thank
of
you for being here.
9/29, oh, good morning. Yeah, so as of 9/29, the impact of COVID-19 disease in the Tillamook County community is low, with 1.3% of hospital admissions related to COVID-19 and 1.1% of staffed inpatient beds occupied by a patient with confirmed COVID-19. And the spread of COVID-19 within the county is actually considered high, with a test positivity rate of 14.29% recorded the past week. But with that, I just kind of want to remind people that one thing to remember about the positivity number is that it doesn't take into account all the negative home tests that are performed. Only the tests that are done in a clinic or a positive home test that are reported by OHA by the individual go towards that number. So it's a little bit different now, and we're seeing, I think, higher positivity rates in part because of our because of the home test kits. Whereas before, people were going to the clinics, and you had a lot more reporting going on, and not everybody reports with these home test kits. So that does impact that number. And then with kind of talking about flu a little bit this year, although you should always get a flu shot, it could be even more important this year. Data from the CDC is showing that COVID-19 safety precautions have helped to keep individuals safe from the flu for the last 2 years. But that also means our natural immunity to the influenza virus has waned. And scientists use evidence about flu rate and severity from flu cases in Australia to make a prediction for our flu season, as Australia has their winter when we are in summer. So Australia's numbers have experienced a rise in flu cases, and experts anticipate the United States will follow suit. So with that in mind, to help keep yourself and your community safe, we strongly recommend everyone 6 months and older get a flu shot, and anyone 12 years and older get a bivalent booster as soon as possible. Bivalent boosters are currently approved for those 12 and up, and bivalent booster for those 5 and up should be available in the coming weeks. We're just waiting on final approval for that. It's also safe and convenient to receive the flu vaccine at the same time you receive your COVID-19 vaccine booster. And you can schedule an appointment at a health clinic or pharmacy in Tillamook County, or you can drop by one of our upcoming walk-in COVID-19 and flu clinics in October or November. And we have quite a few scheduled. In South County, we're going to be at the Nestucca Valley K-8 school Wednesday, October 19th, and also Thursday, October 20th from 3:30 to 6:30. In Central County, we'll be at the fairgrounds Monday, October 10th, and Tuesday, October 11th from 10 to 6 p.m. at the fairgrounds. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Fairgrounds Convention Center. And Saturday, October 29th from 10 to 2 at the Fairgrounds Convention Center, which is happening in conjunction with the DEA Drug Take Back Day. And there's no appointments needed for that. And just a reminder, with the DEA Drug Take Back Day, they're also doing, they're also taking in syringes, so that includes diabetic needles. So if anybody's been holding on to those and trying to find a way to dispose of them, this is a great event for that. It's free, and that's happening Saturday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Convention Center Fairgrounds. And then again, Monday, November 7th and Tuesday, November 8th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. we will be at the Fairgrounds Convention Center for another flu and bivalent clinic. So all of the bivalent and flu clinics that we're having at the Nestucca Valley K-8 and the fairgrounds are all walk-in. Just show up and we'll be happy to help you. And that's all we got.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Any questions at all for our Tillamook County Community Health Center? Thank you so much for being here. Let's move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Do we have Gail Nelson with us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
A few announcements this morning. Our community wellness class update. Our next wellness class will be Dr. Eli Anderson's always popular Introduction to Fasting workshop, scheduled for October 12th and 19th at the NCRD. And we will be offering language interpreters at these classes and hope to welcome some new participants as a result. Please give us a call at 800-368-5182 if you are interested. And next, we are coordinating with, again, NCRD to hold a flu and booster shot clinic on October 13th. Whether you need a flu shot, a booster, or both, please call 800-368-5182 for more information. And I'd like to give a brief update on the nationwide shortage on prescription medications. Sometimes our pharmacy and our clinic face shortages in receiving prescription medications. These shortages or delays can be due to nationwide supply chain issues, including manufacturing and quality. For more information, you can visit the Federal Drug Administration's website and look for drug shortages. The clinic and pharmacy teams in Tillamook County do our best to keep supplies in stock, but there may be times when delays or shortages are unavoidable due to matters beyond our control. So we do thank you for your patience when this happens. And finally, we're here to serve you. If you are interested in scheduling an appointment with one of our medical providers, including behavioral health providers, again, our number is 800-368-5182 for more information or to schedule an appointment. And that's my update for this morning. Thank you.
Gail, as always, thank you so much for being here. This is the first I've heard about a potential supply chain issue with prescription medications. I'm hoping that's not something that's going to blow up, but I appreciate the information very much.
You're welcome, and thank you. It's definitely news here for us as a small pharmacy. So thank you.
Thanks for the information. Appreciate it. Let's move on to the Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Frank Hanna-Williams. Frank, are you with us?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Frank Hanna-Williams, Director of Tillamook Family Counseling Center, Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. If you have concerns about any of our programming, interested in getting just some broad information about the agency, finding out about appointments, you can reach us at 503-842-8201 or 1-800-962-2851. Again, if you have any questions about parenting supports, QPR programming, or if you have a mental health or substance use concern that you feel is has some urgency to it. If that is the case, we would ask that you call with the numbers I just indicated and to ask to speak with the clinician who is on call. And that is my update for today, and we'll take any questions if there are any.
Oh, did we freeze?
Sorry, I think I was muted. So let's go to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Brown, are you there?
I am here. I was actually a little bit worried that maybe I lost the call because it was so quiet for so long.
I think that was me. I apologize for that.
No problem. Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to share a little bit about some stuff that has gone on tail end of last week. We have had a number of motor vehicle accidents, and I'm sure most people are aware that we had a couple that were fairly serious. Well, they were serious. Tail end of last week and through the weekend, the two that I'm speaking of did involve motorcycles. One of them tragically turned out to be a fatality. So this is, and Oregon State Police is the lead investigating agency on both of the crashes that happened involving motorcycles. So I can't speak too much to that, other than just making everybody aware, if they weren't already, that these did happen. And it just, it's a good time to remind everybody about being safe, being vigilant on keeping your eyes up and paying attention to the surroundings, slowing down, taking your time, don't be into a rush, especially as we get into winter where roads are going to become wet, roads are going to become icy. We're going to have darkness for a longer period of time during the course of a day. All the more reason to just be aware and be safe and be patient when you're driving. Anything that we can do to try to help prevent serious injury, crashes, or just crashes in general is always worthwhile. So this is a good time to just remind everybody about that. Other than that, I don't have anything else that I need to bring up today, and I can take questions if needed.
Thank you, Sheriff Brown. Any questions for Sheriff Josh Brown? Thanks for being here. Let's go to emergency management. Do we have Randy Thorpe?
You bet. I'm alive and well in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning. Had a few minutes before my conference started, so I thought I'd jump onto the conference call here. First thing I wanted to mention is that we did get numerous air scrubber filtration units, portable ones, from the Department of Human Services. And last week, Chief Murag was very kind to volunteer to go pick up about half of them. So he picked up about half of them and delivered 16 kind of throughout the central area of Tillamook County. They went to the emergency sheltering sites. I think we had some at the fairgrounds. We also placed them at the Tillamook School District schools. I think they each got a couple of them, so we should be set now for any type of issues that we may have with air during any of our emergency sheltering. So that was really, like say, he went really out of his way to get those picked up and delivered for us. So I just wanted to thank him. Also, we're having our winter preparedness meeting on the 13th. Originally it was scheduled for 1 o'clock. I had to move it up to 10 a.m. The National Weather Service is overbooked and understaffed, I guess like all the other agencies, and they could only be able to do their presentation at 10 a.m. So that meeting will start at 10 a.m. It'll be at the Port Tillamook Bay Conference Room. They will be doing their part virtually, so there is a virtual component to this meeting for those who cannot make it. They can just contact me and I can send them out the link for that meeting so they can at least see the weather portion of that presentation. So hopefully we'll have some good attendance there so we can exchange some ideas and where we're at and basically maybe get to renew some old acquaintances. So that's all I have for right now.
Thank you so much, Randy. Any questions for Randy Thorpe? Thank you, Randy. Have fun in Eugene. This being the first Tuesday of the month, we are pleased to ask Bill Jablonski to be here, and he is online. I see him. Bill, we're going to turn this over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, David, and hello, good morning, Tillamook County. So my name is Bill Jablonski. I am the ODOT area manager here based in Astoria, and my area comprises of Western Washington County, Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia counties. The purpose of me coming on board here is really to talk about the study in Oregon 6, which was the Representative Weber's House Bill 4053, which ODOT is underway. Just to do an update on that, we are expecting to have and is scheduled to have our first open house starting October 18th to November 4th. I'm sorry, to November 1st. This is going to be an online open house. The purpose of this first open house is to gather information from our stakeholder groups that we're putting together to fact find and get input from all the users of the corridor, from the city of Tillamook to the city of Banks along Oregon 6, which is the corridor limits, and to gather that information so ODOT engineers and our consultants can start putting together the priorities for the locations for improvements along Oregon 6. So we're looking forward to that. As part of the effort, we have identified members of the Technical Advisory Committee as well as the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. And of course, one of the things that ODOT is asking these people is, do we have everyone at the table that needs to be there? So it's been a very involved effort on making sure we have the correct people at the table, including government agencies, members of our Northwest Area Commission of Transportation, cities and counties, law enforcement, freight industry, commerce, and citizens, as well as ODOT staff as well. So looking forward to that. I believe that you can get more information on that open house through the Tillamook.gov listserv. I can get links to the commission, and maybe you can post on your website or wherever we need to get communication out to people, let them know how they can participate in this first open house. The other thing I'd like to bring up is ODOT is sponsoring their winter operations meeting next Wednesday on the 12th of October. It's going to be in person in Astoria at the Holiday Inn Express. We have not been in person for a couple of years. We're looking forward to connecting with our partners from Washington County, Columbia, Tillamook, and Clatsop County for in-person. Many of the people on this call today have probably most likely been invited as well. So we look forward to sharing our plans for ODOT's plans for the highway maintenance for our winter time coming up here the next season. And with that, that's all I have this morning.
Well, thank you so much, Bill, for being with us. It's nice to see that maybe we're getting back together again in person. That's always a good thing. And if you do to meetings and things of that nature, please send that to the Board of Commissioners office here, and we can make sure that we make that available to everyone. Do we have any questions for Bill Jablonski? Bill, thanks again for being here.
No, thank you. So it was a pleasure.
Let's go to the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Scar.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As usual, I'm looking at my calendar to say, oh my goodness, what did I do last week? It was such a busy week. I felt like I was on the run all week long. There were a few meetings that I attended that I think are just important for the understanding in the community. The first one I'm going to talk about was one that was with the Association of Oregon Counties, and it was coming together with county commissioners, with directors of mental health programs all across the state to talk about the state hospital. And this hasn't really been big on the news yet, but I expect that it likely will soon. The state hospital, as many of us know, is very short on capacity for those who are experiencing issues with their mental health at a very elevated level that need to be hospitalized and receive assistance. Our state hospital is not large enough, and we do not have systems in the community following the state hospital that provide adequate support. So the state has been working on funding many of these systems over the last year, but as with anything that has been underdeveloped in our state, such as housing, and in this case, services for those with mental health crises and challenges, we can't just flip a light switch and have all of the services we need. Well, with the state hospital, there is a judge in the state that has passed a ruling that says people may not remain in the state hospital beyond a certain timeline, depending on what the diagnosis is that they've been given. In some cases, that's a 30-day stay, some it's a 60, some it's a 90. And these in particular, these are individuals that are there on a hold who have a criminal case pending. So they are there in order to become well enough to aid and assist in their own defense with the criminal case they have pending. Well, this judge's order said you may not keep them at the state hospital longer than, again, the 30, 60, or 90 days pending their diagnoses, and they must be released to their communities, and their communities must figure out how to take care of them. So this has the possibility to be a very hot topic. I did see on the news last week a commissioner from Marion County, where the state hospital is located, who was talking about the fact that these folks will all be released into Marion County, and then what is Marion County to do? So I think this is just something for everyone to be aware of that will, I believe, become more prevalent in the news as the judge's order works its way through and everyone determines what are we going to do? How will we keep these individuals cared for and safe, and how will we keep our communities safe as we work through what their needs are? So if you wonder what it is the WIS commissioners do, all kinds of interesting things, and this one was to really become aware of the issues related to this. And Frank and I, Hannah Williams from Tillamook Family Counseling, and I have a conversation scheduled to just really delve into what might this mean for our community. So that was one of my meetings last week. I also had the opportunity to participate with TJ and Peter from CARE on the Coordinated Homeless Response Scoping meeting. So I think I've talked quite a bit about House Bill 4123 on this call and the $1 million that we have to put together a Coordinated Homeless Services response. I'm excited to share that the memorandum of understanding between the county, the 7 incorporated cities of Tillamook County, and CARE has been completed, and we are now ready to begin the work of assembling a community advisory committee, which will then go forth to do the plan. And this will be a 5-year plan, which once the plan is submitted to the state, we will be able to begin utilizing the resources that remain for actual services. So this is an important step to move forward with that coordinated community advisory panel. So that was a great meeting. We had a good conversation about who should be at the table, and specifically how do we make sure we get the broad range of voices we need for our county. I also had an opportunity to attend an Oregon Coast Trail landowner meeting. So I've spoken on this call before about the Oregon Coast Trail. There is a legislative requirement that we are working to meet to address the gaps in the Oregon Coast Trail, those areas where if you are walking the Oregon Coast Trail from one end of the state to the other, where is it that your only pathway would be on Highway 101 or another sort of dangerous location, and how do we fix that? So we've spent the last year doing convenings in the community, identifying alternative pathways, and then this meeting last Friday was to bring all of that information together and say, so what's the next step? And how do we move forward? And this will be going to the legislature with a legislative ask in the next session to begin to really move forward the work that's been done so that we can create a complete trail system up and down the coast of Oregon. So that was a great meeting to be able to be a part of. I also attended a meeting Thursday evening with the Oregon Water Resources Department around the groundwater allocation process across the state of Oregon, and I find this one very interesting. We know that Oregon is in a drought. We know that areas south of us, and particularly in far southern Oregon, are having a lot of wells that are running dry. They have over allocated their groundwater, and now they're in a position where they just don't have the water promised to people. We have been very fortunate on the Northwest Oregon coast that while we have seen less water perhaps than we typically do, or we've seen it really in different ways that it arrives. We have rainstorms that are just more fierce than they have been in the past, and then we have longer dry stretches. So our water is being impacted, although admittedly we don't have water studies either through local or through the Oregon Water Resources Department that confirm and ensure for us how much groundwater we have and how it's being allocated. So the meeting I attended was a planning meeting for Oregon Water Resources Department to say, hey, we are beginning to look at how we do this, and we know we need to change it. We know we are overprescribing, and we want to get feedback from the community on better ways. So it was very interesting. I learned a lot about groundwater. I think it is an emerging area for Tillamook County that we really need to become aware of and think about. Do we have enough water? We always have had, but with the drought in Oregon, do we now, and specifically, how does the Oregon Water Resources Department's allocation of it affect us? So I expect there will be more to come on that, but it was a great way to get started and learn quite a bit about the process and what's coming up. I will be leaving just shortly after the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee meeting this morning to head down to Bend to be part of the League of Oregon Cities Conference to talk about House Bill 4123. So I will be out of the area for a couple of days, but I look forward to meeting with my Deschutes County commissioners while I'm down there and learning a little bit more about Deschutes County, and if there are some great best practices I can bring home to Tillamook County. So with that, I will turn it back over to Commissioner Yamamoto.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar, remaining busy as always. Things have been busy on my end also. Just a couple of things I want to discuss that's happened in the past week. Probably first of all, we had an OPAC meeting, Ocean Policy Advisory Council meeting. I am the North Coast Commissioner Representative on OPAC, and it was a jam-packed meeting, an all-day virtual meeting, just all day. And it's hard to do that, it really is. But we had several hot topics that we had to discuss. First, we discussed the Territorial Sea Plan Part 3, which is the Rocky Habitat Management Strategy. And that was that's something we finished up last year, actually. But there were 6 areas that came back to us for further consideration after these 6 were reworked to try and meet the standards and the questions and the concerns that OPAC had when they were originally rejected. One of them being right here, Cape Lookout. And it's kind of like what's happening if we were to declare them a Rocky Habitat Management Area. It's kind of like a mini marine reserve. And that was our major concern a year ago when we took this up. We had 3 long meetings about that. But these were brought back to us again for a second look. We're going to make a decision sometime at our next meeting, which I believe is either going to be late November, early December, and we'll take it up again. Again, these are difficult things to do because once you declare it a Rocky Habitat Management Area or a marine reserve, it's that way forever. And we're looking for why they should be declared a Rocky Habitat Management Area. And I'm not sure those are completely spelled out yet, but again, something that we're working on. We also had a discussion about the Territorial Sea Plan Part 4, which is subsea cables. I had to explain to everyone in the room that Tillamook County brings in more oversea cables. We land them in Tillamook County more than all the other coastal counties combined. And so we need a seat at the table, and we're very fortunate that Sarah Apsher, Director of Community Development, has been placed on this committee for DLCD as they try to figure out best practices, different strategies, rules and regs about undersea cable landings on the Oregon coast. And again, because we have so many cables coming in, they need to have the input of Tillamook County. So again, I appreciate very much Sarah Apsher being on that committee. We also had a conversation from BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, about offshore wind that they're planning at this point in time off of the South Oregon coast, off of Coos and Curry counties. There are so many unanswered questions here, and we're just not getting answers from BOEM. It seems like they have their marching orders from DC, and they're just checking the boxes as far as public input, meetings, things of that nature goes. Very fortunate that Senator Jeff Merkley, I received a copy of his letter a couple of weeks ago. We all know that Senator Merkley is a strong supporter of renewable energies, as he should be. But this letter to BOEM, I mean, it was very clear that he has been hearing the concerns of our fishing community and local residents about all the jobs that were promised, about meeting Oregon renewable energy standards. One of the big questions we have, especially the call area off of Coos County, our biggest concern probably will be a California company that comes in and builds them. We were promised jobs, and then later we were told that not one of our ports is deep enough to do the actual building of these huge offshore wind turbines, floating offshore wind turbines. And just as to scale, if you've been through the gorge or into Eastern Oregon and looked at those huge wind energy devices that they have terrestrially, these offshore wind turbines, these are 3 times larger than those terrestrial wind turbines. And they're on floating platforms out on the ocean. We think there are a lot of issues there, and especially off of Curry County down south. What's to prevent a California company putting these huge wind turbines off of our coast, disrupting our fishing areas, and then taking their electric transmission lines directly into California and bypassing Oregon completely as far as our renewable energy standard? So again, many questions unanswered. We're trying to slow BOEM down at this point. The other meeting that all 3 commissioners attended occurred last Friday. Our AOC District 7 meeting, Association of Oregon Counties. We've got 8 districts in Oregon. We belong to District 7, which includes Lincoln County, Tillamook County, Clatsop County, and Columbia County. Columbia County was our host this year, and we had the meeting in Vernonia. I have to admit, I had never been to Vernonia before. And this was just a beautiful setting in Vernonia. You could see the flood that occurred, over a decade ago now. And the building we were in, which is on the bank of a tributary to the Nehalem River, that was underwater by about 8 feet. And just amazing when you look at the little creek that was flowing last Friday versus what was there a decade ago during the winter months, and it flooded everything out. I mean, it's truly amazing, but a beautiful setting, and we appreciate Columbia County hosting that meeting. We had lots of different topics. The hot topics that we discussed at that meeting were, of course, housing affordability, workforce housing shortages, and homelessness. We talked about pursuing more discretion over the transient lodging tax. Again, currently we can use 30% of our transient lodging tax any way that we like. And yet, when it comes to infrastructure, when our population during the summer months quadruples, it puts huge strain on our infrastructure, which is really designed for the 27,000 people that call Tillamook County home permanently. If we could utilize that, more of that money in areas that are going to help not only the local residents, but help our visitors at the same time, that would be a great thing. We're talking about Measure 110 implementation, and that's a whole story that I don't have time to go into, but also improving broadband infrastructure, which we're making great strides on in Tillamook County as we speak. We also had an update on what's coming up in the 2023 legislative session, a long session. This is going to be knocked down, dragged out. I just have to tell you, there are so many things that are going to be on our table. I think all the commissioners are going to be spending an extraordinary amount of time in Salem, trying to have conversations with people so they understand the impacts that a lot of these bills are going to have, especially on rural counties. So with that, I'll call it quits, and let's move to the cities. City of Manzanita, Mike Scott. Mike, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
So this is the last week for our Summers Farmers Market up here in North County. This has been a huge success this year. We've got dozens of vendors. So your last chance to visit the Farmers Market is this Friday at the Underhill Plaza from 4 to 7 p.m.
Thank you, Mike, for being here. Appreciate that very much. Move on to the City of Nehalem. Do we have Melissa Thompson Kiefer or anyone from City Council in Nehalem? How about in Wheeler? Do we have Mayor Doug Honeycutt or City Manager Mary Johnson? Anyone from Wheeler? Rockaway Beach, Mayor Sue Wilson or anyone else from the City of Rockaway? City of Garibaldi, Mayor Tim Hall?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Garibaldi has nothing to report this week.
That's quite all right. We appreciate you being here very much.
I know.
Thank you. City of Bay City, Mayor David McCall.
Yes, good morning. This is Mayor David McCall. For the past several years, we have been working on updating our development ordinance to make the downtown area more accessible and convenient for pedestrians and bicyclists and other visitors, and also to make certain types of housing a little more easier. I am very pleased to announce that what we're calling Phase 2 of our updates, we'll have a workshop this evening starting at 5 o'clock to go over the draft recommendations from this Phase 2 proposal. This is a workshop of the City Council and the Planning Commission together, but it is open to all members of the community who would like to come and participate and see what the consultant has put together for us with recommendations with staff, and also express your opinions about whether you feel this is going in the right direction. So that's tonight in the community hall starting at 5 o'clock. And thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCall. City of Tillamook, City Manager Nathan George. Nathan, are you with us?
Yes, good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
I have several things. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to provide a brief update on our September 19th council meeting. It was a work session. It was 2 weeks ago. And the council has discussed the upcoming fuel tax proposal on the ballot, and they are going, since this only can come from the council, it's not from staff, they will be working on a letter to submit to the Tillamook paper from the council. Last night, the October 3rd, 2022 meeting, we had several things I wanted to go over. The council approved a contract with Colpac, the Columbia Pacific Economic Development District, for the grant administration services for the water transmission line replacement. This is the project that the state had awarded the City of Tillamook $12 million last year to replace our transmission lines, which is the water going between our water treatment plant and our city, which is quite a long distance. So we're very excited about this to get the grant administration underway. And we'll be looking forward to hearing more from the city as we work on this project. Also, we had a contract approval with Singer Lewerk Accountants and Consultants to provide auditor services for the city, so a different auditor. And also, we had a request from the new owners of the grocery outlet for an Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission permit, so a liquor license for their store. So nothing's changing as far as the permit. It's just simply new ownership, and the new owners came in last night and spoke with the council, and it was a very good conversation. Also, we had a request to approve the resolution adopting limited English proficiency plan, and that was approved, and that's in conjunction with the work that we're doing with the Grant Administrative Services. It's a federal requirement to ensure that our citizens are able to get the information they need if they speak a different language other than English. Also, a request to hold a reading for an ordinance vacating a public easement on Bob Helmick Lane. So just to give a brief update, Helmick Lane was changed to Bob Helmick Lane. The owner had asked to change that in honor of his father. And there was a hammerhead that's supposed to be built there years ago. It was never built. And so, unfortunately, a house was built there which blocked that spot. So essentially, the owners switched, and they put in a hammerhead or a turnout for large vehicles in a different spot on the road, but nevertheless is now there, and it's going through the proper process to be properly adopted. The old one's being vacated, the new one's already been built, so vehicles can come in there and turn around and not have to back onto 12th Street. So we also had our manager report, council report, and financial report. So also in the police department, we were happy to report that Sergeant Harrell applied for, and the city received funding to offset the cost of replacing several ballistic vests. This is a grant that can be applied to through the Department of Justice, as is a great help to agencies with replace outdated body armor. Chief Rao, Lieutenant Troxel, and Sergeant Harrell attended the annual Fall Chiefs and Sheriff's Office at the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. This two-day conference was mixed with networking, work groups, and leadership training, which is required as part of the maintenance hours to maintain our leadership certifications for the police department. It was a very good conference, and I really enjoyed that. Our school resource officer, Olson, has been working with the Tillamook School District and Liberty Elementary leadership to adjust traffic flow during drop-off and pickup areas for students. This adjustment in traffic has already been shown to make an improvement, and we wanted to give him a great work from the School Resource Officer Olson. Creating and maintaining these relationships with our community helps to create a safer environment, and is really wonderful to witness. We are very appreciative of the support from our community for the police department and their willingness to observe and call us with issues. The police department has been able to quickly wrap up a theft this week, in larger part due to the diligence of community members. Establishing and maintaining these types of relationships is an important part of how they serve and how we serve to the best of their abilities. And also wanted to mention, as I think I've mentioned in the past, the city police department is working on neighborhood watches and rolling it out a little bit at a time. And we know we've had several citizens been very excited about that, and we appreciate that. In the Public Works Department, as you may have seen, some of the cones and the work, the emergency sewer repair on First Street that I had spoken about last month, and Pacific Avenue was finished last night and would be paved on Sunday. So that was a significant major sewer line that needed repaired. It was just it was in terrible shape. And it was emergency repair, and they got that done. I want to thank the contractors and thank our staff that was out there working all night, 2 nights in a row to get that done. Crews are busy finishing up water line repairs south of town and on 3rd Street. The hanging flower baskets are scheduled to be taken down this week, so please be mindful if you see city trucks briefly stopping along Main Street and Pacific Avenue. Also wanted to remind everyone to please contact the Public Works Department with any concerns regarding Public Works questions, inquiries, potholes, etc., and you can easily contact them with the email publicworks@tillamookor.gov. Just email publicworks@tillamookor.gov. You can also call our main number and follow the prompts of the Public Works Department, and they'll have someone there to answer the phone. Planning Commission will be holding 2 hearings this coming Thursday, covering a site plan review at the County Health Campus and the zoning ordinance amendment for signage in the P-Zone. Please contact our Planning Department for more information. The city continues to receive multiple inquiries on the work that was done at the former Power Chevrolet parcel on North Main Street. In short, the owners properly applied for and obtained a fill and grade permit, which was completed recently. This week, the owners also obtained a permit from ODOT to reconfigure some of the access to the Highway 101, as well as some stormwater work. Again, these were with ODOT, and the proper permits were filed and obtained. The owners have not submitted any plans for the development of the rest of the property. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people keep asking, but the city does not have any plans, and we don't know what the owners plan. The city has vacancies on the Tillamook Urban Renewal Agency and the city's budget committee. Please contact us if you're interested. And just a reminder, as I often do, if you are interested, to please sign up for the sewer and water and even indoor plumbing warranty lines if you'd like. And for about less than $10 a month, you can have up to $8,500 on the two lines going out the street and $3,000 a month on the indoor plumbing. That was all I have, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nathan, as always, for being with us this morning. Last but certainly not least, let's turn to South County. Do we have Doug Olson with us?
Good morning, Commissioner. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning.
Today I'll just do a couple of quick things. I'll put on my PUD director hat for a moment. You talked about possible offshore ocean energy, and a number of people inquire of PUD if we're participating in that or have something to say about it, and the answer is nothing is going on at the present time. It's been many years since PUD had any conversations about that, to my knowledge. Years ago, there was a company called Principal Power that was interested in ocean energy, but that was some time back. The agreement or understanding that PUD had expired quite a number of years ago. So now all the focus has been on the South Oregon coast, as was pointed out. So nothing is happening up the central and north coast, to our knowledge. All the focus is Reedsport South. And so that's not to say that the federal government won't change their mind in 5 or 10 or 15 years. Nobody knows. But as of the moment, there is nothing going on just off the Tillamook coast, at least with respect to anything that PUD would be involved in. Second item, you mentioned earlier, we do have a candidates forum today at the Pacific City Nestucca Valley Chamber. It will be at noon. We'll have lunch available and a couple of brief items of business, and then give over to our candidates for House District 32, Dr. Cyrus Javadi and Logan Lady. And then in Senate District 16, we have Suzanne Weber and Melissa Bush. So just the two seats and 4 candidates. Be a wonderful time to come over and ask them some hard questions, shake their hand, and find out what they're going to do, because we know for certain 2 of those people will represent Tillamook County in the Oregon legislature as of the 1st of next year. So come on down noon at the Kiawanda Community Center, and that's about it for today. Thank you.
Doug, as always, thank you for being with us. I will see you at noon for the chamber meeting. With that, I want to thank everyone for being here today, but especially I want to thank KTIL for, as they do every Tuesday morning, for broadcasting our community update live to the residents of Tillamook County. So with that, time being 9:09 a.m., we're going to adjourn this community update. Thank you, everyone.